Sir, someone had raised the hand.
Oh, okay.
From the participants. Right.
Good afternoon, everybody. We welcome all of you from different walk of life. More than 30 people have already joined, and more will be joining. So we welcome all the participants and eminent speakers in this digital dialogue on cyber security considerations in mobile and Wi-Fi. I would request President Broadband India Forum, Mr. TV Ramachandran, to welcome all the participants and attendees and take this forward. TV, sir.
Thank you, Atul. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure, a great privilege indeed, to welcome you all to this digital dialogue on cybersecurity considerations in mobile and Wi-Fi. Digital dialogues are a branded property of Broadband India Forum, and we like to do this to convey various views on important topics of interest in the digital arena. And we try to bring together the foremost experts in each area. And today I'm really honored to have such a galaxy of experts here. I will start with first mentioning, welcoming the chief guest, Mr. Abhishek Singh, Additional Secretary MeitY. Although he is not here right now, he'll be joining us in a little while. He's running a bit late because he was caught up in another meeting. He will be joining here, and he will be again welcomed in detail by our chairman, Dr. Sarath Chandra Babu. Our chairman is leading the whole effort today here. And we have with him our co-chair, Mr. Alok Gupta, who is also a prime expert in this field. They both are in this, along with our convener, Atul Jain. So I cannot thank these three anywhere near enough for what they are doing today. I would like to also acknowledge and warmly welcome the galaxy of speakers, which includes Dr. V.N. Shastri, Professor, Institute of Development and Research in Banking Technology, Mr. Dr. P.V. Anandamohan, former Executive Director, ECIL, Mr. Mahesh Patil, Associate Director, CDAC, Hyderabad, and all the other distinguished attendees. I wish to say a few words about Broadband India Forum and why we are doing this. Broadband India Forum is not a normal industry association. It is a think tank in the broadband space, aiming to proliferate affordable, high-quality broadband. And of course, affordable, high-quality broadband automatically includes the aspect of cybersecurity. We are a technology-neutral, all-inclusive, non-partisan body. BI believes in provision of affordable, secure, reliable, accessible, and inclusive broadband for all. Broadband India Forum therefore, is working in a very indefatigable manner to further this cause. And today's effort is part of that. In consonance with its core principles, BIF has always advocated for a safe, secure, and open internet for all. Thus, in principle, we work for India to have internet which provides non-discriminatory, safe access for all. This is particularly important in a country where many people are coming on to the internet only now. Nearly 40-50% of the people are still not on the internet. They'll be coming on, so there'll be new. So they have to be even more careful, and we have to be more careful for their sake. The landscape of cybersecurity threats has grown increasingly complex and dangerous over the past few years. I myself have been a victim of that, driven by several factors such as technological advancements, proliferation of Internet of Things, devices, and rise of sophisticated cybercriminal networks. India, with more than 924 million internet users, mobile internet users, has to focus on these risks. Thus, cybersecurity and security by design is one of the fundamentals of this vision, and and we have been pursuing this with great zeal since its inception, since our inception. BIF had initiated a cyber trust and safety working group in 2021 itself. And in 22-23, we were delighted to have Dr. Sarath Babu as chair of this committee, Cybersecurity Committee, and Mr. Alok Gupta come on as co-chair. Currently, they are both working on a white paper on the topic of securing broadband communications in the emerging technology landscape. The paper shall focus on growing importance of secure broadband communication in today's digital world, importance of cybersecurity in ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and availability of broadband communication networks, what is referred to also as CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability of broadband communication networks, define key cybersecurity principles, threat landscape, and analysis specific to broadband communication network, cybersecurity best practices. Being a think tank, BIF has also made contributions in the cybersecurity space as follows. Active participation in the formation of data security policy and inputs towards the formation of the DPDP Act since 2017, provided detailed inputs to the open consultation of National Cybersecurity Strategy 2020, created a working group on cybersecurity in 2018, which conducted many cyber training workshops to skilled students, school students, in a number of premium schools in the country. BIF, as part of the group, which was instrumental in setting up the India Internet Governance Forum for the first time in India in 2021. IIGF has been instrumental in driving the goals of Cyber Surakshit Bharat and a free, open, and transparent multi-stakeholder-led internet for all. BIF has been associated with the last 3 editions of IIGF in manifold capacities and continues to do so in its 4th edition to be held later this year. BIF has also sensitized its members on cyber security aspects in September 2024. Today, we are having this webinar. Like I said, thanks to the active participation and interest taken by the chair, co-chairs of the Cybersecurity Committee, and other eminent speakers who are here. We are thankful to all of you, sirs. we are glad that a key officer responsible for cybersecurity in India, Mr. Abhishek Singh, Additional Secretary, MeitY, has kindly agreed to grace this webinar as chief guest and deliver the keynote address, and he'll be with us a little later in the afternoon. I'm hopeful that this digital dialogue will be beneficial to all of you attendees. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Back to you, Atul.
Thank you, sir. Now I would request you to kindly introduce Dr. Sarath.
Thank you. Thank you for that honor. I have a great honor to introduce my great friend, Dr. Sarath Chandra Babu, who had a PhD from IIT Delhi and has considerable experience spanning over 4 decades in institution building, leading national level R&D programs, project implementation, and coordination, education, and training. He was the founder director of CDAC Hyderabad and worked as executive director of SET Chennai and CDAC Bengaluru. He worked as a scientist in MeitY and also played a role in ISIA. He is presently contributing to the industry as an advisor to the Data Security Council of India and is also honorary principal advisor to us in BII. Dr. Sarath is responsible for new national level R&D initiatives. He has been conferred prestigious awards such as Vasvik Award 2019, Leadership Award at CDAC, and the Lifetime Achievement Award from IEEE Computer, Chennai Chapter 2024. He has to his credit around 80 publications in various national and international journals and conferences, 3 PhDs, and 4 patents filed, 1 awarded. A fantastic CV, and like I said, we are greatly honored to have you, sir, with us. Dr. Sarath, please take over and lead the initiative.
Thank you, TV sir, for a wonderful introduction, and so nice of you to take time and do this honors to me. Good afternoon to everyone of the speakers of today's uh, digital dialogue, and also the participants from various walks of life, from academia, government, and industry. I think there is no need for me to setting the context when you talk about a cyber security, because today everyone is uh, aware of and also worried of. So this is a very important topic for those people, especially those who are in technology area, and the kind of the growth that is happening in terms of the connectivity, internet penetration. I think India stands number 2, including the smartphone usage. Also, we are number 2, and close to 1.2 billion phones are being used. These are kind of statistics we have, and thanks to various government of India's programs, and there is a compulsion, and there is a need, and there is a comfort of using various services, right from the government services, right from passport to health services to pension, anything that you take, any field you take, today the services have to be utilizing through the mobile phone. Mobile phone apps, or a number of apps are coming, and we know that even during the COVID, couple of mobile apps have become very useful, and I think it is the largest used mobile app, I think. All aware that the devices are mobile, whereas we know that we are using the cellular networks like 3G, 4G, 5G, and we are even looking for 6G on one side, and another side to connect the last mile connectivity of mobiles to reach anywhere, Wi-Fi networks. So these are the kind of cellular networks and Wi-Fi networks are becoming the base for a mobile device to get connected. And we are not just looking at mobile communication. It's not just the mobile device network and the application. I am sure that the speakers, Dr. Sastri and Mahesh Patil and Dr. Ananda Mohan sir will be speaking at length the importance of various layers of these things. As Dr. TV sir has mentioned, the security by design is becoming an interesting factor, and people are even talking about security by default. And for all that, there is a standards compliance is important, and we are looking for various good things to happen. I just wanted to quote. That our honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is very much keen and fond believer of technology taking the country to the next millennium. So in this context, I just wanted to quote which he has indicated in the India Mobile Congress in October 2023. I quote, "For cybersecurity, self-reliance is very important in the entire manufacturing value chain, be it hardware, software, or connectivity. When everything in the value chain is under our national domain, it will help us in keeping them secure." This is what I unquote. So this is a kind of belief, and we know that a lot of activities are happening. The technology trends that are happening, whether you talk about AI, blockchain, IoT, everything, are also becoming important in the mobile environment. Now we are talking about mobile. We know that day in day out, social engineering attacks to Wi-Fi kind of systems having a number of attacks, either due to the weak encryption or due to the SIM card attacks, so on and so forth. So I'm not going into the details. We will be hearing it from the
Yeah.
luminaries here. What we are looking at is broadband India is what set all broadband communications encompassing a diverse array of communication systems. It's a wired as well as wireless, and whether it is internet telephony, PSTN, ISDN, or IoT, that's also the thing. So it's a wide spectrum. But today we are talking about two key things like mobile security and the Wi-Fi security.
Uh-huh.
Because if you talk about security today, people know that it is a mobile security. This is cyber security, though there are a lot of things happening.
Dr.
But
Sarat,
yes,
Dr.
sir.
Sarat, this is
Yes, sir.
Atul.
Yes, sir.
We welcome Mr. Abhishek Singh, IES Additional Secretary, Mighty.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. I'm stopping here. Yeah.
So,
Please continue, Sharad Babu.
Sir, yeah, I'm just coming to a conclusion. So, diverse array of communication systems in broadband, but we're focusing because the kind of impact that is made due to various cyber attacks to a common man, and to build the citizens' confidence, we need to address mobile and Wi-Fi security as a major thrust, because India is moving ahead as a mobile security as a key mobile as the first mobile first country. So in this context, the cyber security of mobile and of Wi-Fi, if you take care, I think maximum amount of the attacks would be reduced if we are able to do. And at the same time, we need to look at the individual level, enterprise level, and the national level. All the threats are equally distributed or even more at various levels. So we need to understand the and prioritize these things. In this particular digital dialogue, we are only constraining to the key two aspects: mobile and Wi-Fi security. And I think as we would like to hear more from the experts who are speaking, I would like to stop here and look forward to the speakers sharing their knowledge. And at this point of time, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Professor V.N. Shastri, Professor of Institute for Development and Research in Banking Technology, on the mobile security. So in this, while he is delivering the talk, I would like to briefly introduce Professor V.N. Shastri. Dr. V.N. Shastri is a professor at IDRBT, Hyderabad, established by Reserve Bank of India. He has obtained both his MSc in 1987 and his PhD in multiple objective fuzzy control system area degree in 1994 from IIT Kharagpur. He got his bachelor's degree in science from University of Kolkata. He has served as a faculty member of NIT Tiruchirappalli for 7 years prior to joining IDRBT in 1999. He is the coordinator of the Mobile and Social Media Banking Lab and India's first 5G use cases lab for banking and financial services set up by DOT and DFS in 2020. He has served as the chairman of the working group on mobile security, MATIAS, and as chairman of the expert committee on mobile governance, MATI. And though it's not mentioned here, he has produced both two important reports here on mobile governance and as well as mobile device security documents and submitted to the MATI along with the team of experts. And he guided a number of PhD, 14 PhD scholars and 100 MTech projects in optimization, computer science, and banking technology areas. He has published over 100 research papers. He is the executive secretary of the Mobile Payment Forum of India, co-founded in 2007. He has been a Senate member of IIIT Kannur, adjunct faculty and program advisory board of IIM Visakhapatnam. He is a member of the Board of Studies in Computer Science and Engineering of Osmania University, JNTU Hyderabad, Bapatla Engineering College, AP, Bapatla Engineering College, Andhra Pradesh, and the University of Hyderabad. With this a brief introduction about Professor V.N. Sastry, over to Professor Sastry to deliver a talk on the mobile device security. Thank you.
Thank you. May I share my presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. So, namaskar to all of you. This is a very important topic and is a concern for all of us, both from the user's point of view and service provider's point of view, and particularly for the BIF, because you now provide all the services through the internet to different categories of citizens and people across the country. So what I thought is I will specify specifically the objectives and challenges of the mobile security, because not broad, but how things happen, what we need to collectively do to make mobile security to be understood by all and ensure that citizens basically get the benefit without bothering each of them from their own perspectives. Second is on the control measures. Third is I will try to illustrate how the various mobile security goals are to be achieved and how we are doing for that with respect to the case study on mobile payments from a banking perspective, and some recommendations which I thought may be of use to this gathering. The basic objectives, if you look, it's ultimately to protect the citizens who are using the mobile phones, and particularly the big segment. The challenges are the large population which is using the mobile phones, as well as the different categories and the levels of knowledge of usage of the mobile phones. Of course, children are nowadays learning by themselves to how to use it, but how much awareness is there about the security is important thing which need to be looked at. Strengthening the developers, because now the trend, all of you know that it's more from security by design. So how the developers can be strengthened to look after the various security aspects and what they need to really look into to keep these things in mind. I'll be specifying those. To ensure that the services which are provided by the various service providers are to be trustworthy. How do we ensure that? And ultimately, how these various security goals which we are going to see are going to be achieved by different entities which are involved in the entire process. You all know the DPDP Act, and particularly from the mobile user's point of view, how the personal data of the user is being protected, where somebody has gone with respect to the position, how that location coordinates are protected, how the path to which you have reached at a given point of time is going to be protected, what the various communication channels used by the mobile user, if somebody knows about them, is it really going to be harmful? say whether somebody is using SMS or USSD or GPRS or through which app somebody is using, they all need to be really protected. And finally, the identity of the user, because mobile phone has become basically a companion and gateway to the world. So how this information is going to be secured and protected with respect to the digital privacy is an important concern. And that's what the law says, Act says. Ultimately, what boils down is what are the security goals that we are trying to achieve. As the president has mentioned about the CIA, we all know about that, but we have added actually these additional ones, and now we have 11 security goals. Why we have taken up this is to make mobile security in a holistic perspective, involving all the entities which are going to be taking part for the secure communication from source to destination. And you have all these things. Of course, it's good to understand what each of these things mean, but most important thing is how a machine will understand and execute to achieve all these security goals. So that's really the challenge, and one need to really look into that. So I'll explain this when I go to the case study, how these 11 security goals are tried to be achieved for the mobile payments. So the ecosystem has various players, what we call as the entities. So you have the starting from the manufacturers, the OEMs, and the various components of that. Second is your various developers. They need to strengthen their skills, because most of the people, if you look at, they are very good at your functional specifications and coding, but how good they are to understand how security things need to be taken into account while you develop is an important challenge, and that requires a lot of training and real hands-on experience. Third is the service providers, of whether it is the various entities like your payment gateways who provide the service, or many other entities who are involved in that, including your government bodies. Then network providers, where the BIF plays significant role besides the telecom operators and MNOs. Then you have testers who do the testing of the things, not just functional testing, but security testing is more important. Then you have regulators who basically give the regulatory guidelines. We will see the various guidelines that have been issued by the various entities. But most important is sectoral regulators. For example, Reserve Bank of India issues the security guidelines related with, say, payment systems. Then you have academic researchers and ultimately the users and other entities who take part in. What is most important is specifying the roles and responsibilities of each of them. Then only we can actually achieve the holistic security and protect really the end users. So to understand broadly, we need to look at what are the risks, what are the threats, and what are the vulnerabilities. So risk basically is related with loss or what deviates you from achieving the goals. Threats are basically the causes of the disruptions happening through the various threat actors with an intention to basically penetrate and do some harm by exploiting the various gaps that exist. And these gaps is what we call as the vulnerabilities, which are basically the loopholes in the protective mechanisms of the various assets that we want to protect. So early detection of them is required, and insulating them from the real threats so that you plug in whatever is required to be done is to be taken into account. Now, how these things happen, because you have the attackers whose strategy is basically to get into the end user's device or data, and then as an insider or as an outsider or impersonating trying to get into by collecting the information available either inside from various social engineering or using also the AI techniques, and finally attacking through the active or passive based attacks. So this is what actually happens, the strategy of the, so it's important to model that if we want to really develop good penetration system to protect the various devices as well. So we classify them into three segments. One is device based, one is the second is the service based, and third is communication level security. In each of them, you see whether, suppose we look at the device level, you have the various components in the mobile device, including operating systems, the database where you store, the SIM card. SIM card also, if you look at the evolution, how it has taken place, and now we have eSIMs. Basically, there is no physical SIM. It's all embedded inside. If that is the case, how the personalization is going to happen, how the authentication of the SIM is going to happen, and what are the various things that earlier used to be stored in the SIM are going to be stored in the hardware of the things. So these changes naturally impact, and whether somebody has thorough understanding on that is an important thing to be looked at. From the service point of view, if you look at, there are many algorithms which are used still, but they have been already broken. So that really poses a big threat. Similarly, for the binary protection, if the suppose you have not taken obfuscation techniques into account, then somebody can easily understand what the code is, and then add few more modules or some applets and then do some harm. So that's what is happening. So how do you protect is another thing, and my friend is going to talk much on the app level security when it comes to. Similarly, for the communication point of view, see, ultimately it is basically the various OSI layers which plays important role for the communication between any two devices or multiple devices. So are we really serious about looking each layer security, and how the bottom three layers are really protected when the communication happens from source to destinations? Because the rest of the layers, they are not supposed to get the information of the rest of the layers. But if some router or something is going to get that, then who is going to check about it? So these are the real concerns which need to be looked at by the various entities. Now, if we do not take care of, then a lot of security breaches that do happen. For example, the two-factor authentication is important. You have QR code support, secure storage, device binding, the jailbreaking, runtime errors which come up, the location of the device, etc. So these things have to be really taken into consideration in a serious way. And now the upcoming threats are more from the sensors point of view, as well as if somebody is misusing the quantum computers and trying to hack your devices in a large number, then how are we trying to make safe by the safe cryptography of the quantum computing? So these things need to be looked at. Similarly, for the control measures, if we look at, okay, we understand what are the things, but how do we do that? So you have various mechanisms. One is what you call as policy-based measures, where the regulators or the guidelines, etc., are issued in the security policy. Each organization has its own IT security policy, then security policy by the banks, etc. Then you have business model based on what risk levels one can actually be exposed to, and based on the user, and with the knowledge of the user, how that can be done. For example, if you do a transaction through an SMS channel, so RBI says that you can't do more than 5,000 rupees. Okay. Earlier it was 1,000 rupees only. So it was later on increased to 5,000 rupees. So what does it mean? So if you are doing an unencrypted channel, then the limit or the risk exposure is only up to 5,000 rupees. So that's how you can also put business constraints to achieve security. Third is the most important, where all of us are really working on, that is the technology based. So here you have device communication and service based security. So if you look at the device based itself, you have various components which you can see from a logical point of view or component point of view or functional point of view. So each of these, but majority of them, where the various serious attacks are happening. For example, your sensor based attacks, the storage, where you actually store each app's data, where it is getting stored. Is it really encrypted? Can multiple applications can use that particular data? And what type of library functions, what type of APIs are they really tested? And how the upgradation of the OS itself is taking place, whether it's Android or iOS. So these are really has to be looked and tested. Then only the assurance can be given for a foolproof solution. From the communication point of view, you have short range and long range communication channels. Mobile is a great device because it provides many of these things. It's a golden thing for the entire civilization, I feel. But somehow people are also looking at whether it is really a curse. But if we cannot avoid that, only it has to be learned how to really make mobiles utilization in a much more effective way. So these are various things, and there are many standards and specifications for each of this. One has to really look at what type of threats that are happening, and MNOs really play a significant role for that, and accordingly things need to be looked at. Similarly, for the service point of view, you have mobile browser, what type of browser, what functionalities it provides. Like that, somebody has to also test not just the browsers, but whatever upgradations that are happening, because otherwise people are really exposed to these threats which without their knowledge. Similarly, now mobile cloud-based services, edge-based services of the data being collected, and also you use your mobile as a remote control for your TV as well. Okay, so mobile application security, various cryptography techniques. But what is most important for use on the mobile is the lightweight cryptography and some emerging quantum safe cryptography methods. Of course, there are various security coding practices which need to be understood for the developers. And most important is the security awareness, and given a checklist, how they're really improving their skills and knowledge on that. So let me now take with a case study just to understand how these things can, or how we actually try to do that. So you have broad spectrum of services to the mobile, which you call as mobile services. Government is trying to see how all these services can be provided to the citizens onto their mobile phones. That's what you call as mobile governance. And then under the governance, you have various sectors. There are about 11, 12 sectors. For example, financial is one of the sectors. In the financial sector, you have the banking sector, which provides the banking services. Each bank has its own banking apps. Coming to that below is your payment services, which not just limiting only to the banks, but also to the other entities. For example, telcos and fintechs and software organizations. So here, if we look at the mobile payment, you have customer on one side, the bank is on the other side. And this use case diagram tells the various functions which suppose the app is supposed to do, including your registration, login, checking balance, adding the beneficiary, and making payments. In the selection of the payment account, you may have several accounts. So which account you want to pay, what payment channel you would like to use, whether SMS, USSD, or GPRS, or through the app, or through the voice call, you want to give the instruction to the bank. All these things are already there, and which method you would like to use for the payment mode. Okay, so the various payment modes that you can make I'll come to that in just a minute. And these are the various channels, but what is important is where to send. Okay, through the SMS, USSD, this destination address must be known, but how many people really know? And so that awareness itself need to be created for the functionality. Similarly, mobile itself can be used to make people know about the various security tips by the respective entities. In this diagram, you see there is a pair, there is a pay. So pair is trying to pay to the pay. Okay, pair is on the left side, green. Pay is on the right side, that is on the in the yellow shades. So there is a pairs bank, there is a pairs PSP. Suppose you have using a Bheem app or a Phone Pay or a Google Pay. They are the PSPs, payment service providers. It could be also their payment gateways. Okay, for example, various card processing entities or SMS gateways, which also connect to the banks for various banks, etc. So this is a simple diagram for you to understand. So when you initiate a transaction to pay, to say payer X wants to pay to Y, pay Y. So one can use these various communication channels, SMS, USSD, GPRS, the mobile app, or through the browser itself, and connect to the bank, give the instruction, and then using one of these things. So in the IMPS, basically you enter the enter the mobile phone number and the MMID of the receiver. In the case of AEPS, you enter the Aadhaar number of the receiver. In the case of NEFT, you enter the IFS code and the account number of the receiver. In the UPI, you are actually entering the unified payment process. So this we have actually developed, and I think one of the greatest contributions, what we see today, the result, is the interoperability standards for mobile payments. And that has really changed. It took almost, we started that journey in 2008. And we have, at that time itself, we defined the interoperability. That means it should be independent of the device. It should be independent of the telecom operator. It should be independent of the bank also. And that's how these have emerged. And the rest of the world is now trying to replicate and use this, and including the security aspect. So here, now let us look at how these various security goals are going to be achieved. For example, let's start with the confidentiality. So when you send the pair sends the information, say using IMPS. In the IMPS, what are the fields you have? The receiver's mobile phone number, the MMID, which is a 7-digit number. You have the amount that you want to send, the MPIN of the pair, and some remarks. So these 5 fields information is sent, but the bank has registered already the customer. So bank actually authenticates that the information is coming from the right user. Okay, so by checking what SMS it has received, or if you are using a USSD, it is directly connecting with the bank server through the NPCI, and then it tells what action you want to. You want to pay from payer's bank to receiver's bank, then that amount is actually entered. So first it is verified. What I am trying to say here is you have like onion, different layers. So what information is supposed to be known to specific entity, only that fields data only is to be exposed to that and nothing else. That way the layered security is taken into account so that you have a full confidentiality ensured from source to destination. Now let's look at the integrity. How do you ensure that the information that is being transferred from payer to the bank is not changed, content is not changed, the integrity of the information is remaining intact? For example, if I do a transaction for 500 rupees and I see that a message has come, amount has been debited 5,000, and I thought I will be sending to payee Y, but it has been received by somebody else. So I get puzzled as to whether I have done some mistake or is it a bank's. That means there is basically a violation of the integrity. That means the original content has been changed. So in the digital environment, it is 100% possible to actually identify where what has happened. That is really a boon of the digital world. But how do we ensure all these security goals is really the challenge, and we are trying to work in that. So you have confidentiality, integrity, availability is of course the services that you are trying to make available to the end user without disruptions, particularly from the DDoS attacks, etc. Then you have authentication. So here authentication also is not just one way that you are trying to send to the bank. Bank also has to authenticate whether it is receiving from the right entity. And receiver also has to ensure that he is sending to the right bank. So mutual authentication. At the same time, nowadays, there is also some use cases coming where you require continuous authentication, all right, for some services. So
Dr.
like
Shastri,
that, yes, please.
could you conclude in a minute?
Yeah, 2 more slides, sir, finishing that. So like that, we have to try to ensure that all the security goals are implemented by the various entities. So that's the real goal, and it's a challenge, and this need to be taken into account for all the services of different sectors under the umbrella of mobile governance. So these are some of the standards. Some of you who are interested can look into that. There's a mobile device security standard. NIST is another important source. WASP, MIT Government of India has published several, and I suggest also all of you to please look into the BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards. A lot of new things are also coming up in different sectors. Besides, DSCI and NASCOM and either 3GPP also you have release 18 has happened. So some of you are interested to look at 5G security, how it happens, what are the upcoming challenges for 6G, etc. One can look into this. So finally, there is recommendations. What I feel is the identification of the various entities involved from source to destination and their security threats, what they are facing that need to be identified, defining the roles and responsibilities and making them accountable so that all these security goals are met, fulfilling the compliance requirements. Conducting awareness programs is also important for different levels within the organization, and security drills is also important to strengthen the various entities involved. Then following the security coding practices, standards, and IT security policy, we have actually seen how the banking sector has been strengthened with respect to IT policy, IT security policy, then mobile and various delivery channels policies are there. Similarly, I think all sectors need to get awakened to move in that direction. Using standard cryptography codes, security tested APIs, and mobile PKI is another thing which has not happened in our country, unfortunately. Although many of our phones have the feature for your storing your, as per the FIP standards, storing your private keys. So complying with the periodic security testing and security auditing is necessary. And of course, we need to move towards developing the good culture and security hygiene for the entire country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sastri, and it's a wonderful talk covering various objectives and control measures and security aspects at different layers of the device and application and network. So thank you, and we look forward to continuation of the dialogue. At the end, probably there will be some question and answers. So thank you once again. And we'll move on to the next speaker's talk on Wi-Fi security, the latest trends. So the exact topic title is cybersecurity and Wi-Fi devices. This is being delivered by Dr. P.V. Anand Mohan, sir, who is a former Executive Director of Electronics Corporation of India Limited and also who was heading the Research and Development Wing of Indian Telephone Industries. He received his PhD degree from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore in 1975, and he had been with Indian Telephone Industries Limited, Bangalore, ECAL, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and involved in with R&D in telecom and especially in encryption system design. He has the experience of implementing in the field various encryption systems. He was later with Center for Development of Advanced Computing as a technology advisor from 2014 to 20. He has published 5 books and published extensively in the areas of VLSI design and residue number systems. Dr. Mohan is a life fellow and IEEE USA, fellow IETE, fellow of National Academy of Engineering, and he is a reviewer of very advanced journal papers. And as a life fellow and into cryptography side, he's a well-known expert in India. And in addition to that, he was expert in analog design and digital signal processing, which we consider 3 most difficult subjects. Sir is expert, and we are very fortunate to have him here to address on a very practical aspect of Wi-Fi security. Over to you, Dr. Anand Mohan, sir.
Thank you. I will share my presentation. You are able to see?
Yes.
Work. So good afternoon. Let me first thank BIF for asking me to share my ideas. So I will know the agenda is like this. First, I will be dealing with some introductory remarks. Then we'll go through the technology development actually in Wi-Fi. It has started with YEP, the wired equivalent privacy. Then it went on to WPA, WPA2, WPA3, and now we are in the stage of adoption thing, WPA3. Now this I will just briefly tell you how it has developed. Actually, simultaneously GSM, CDM also are developing. So there were a lot of commonality, like how do you exchange information between the client and the base station, or similarly here, client and access point. So some of them similarly, technology for using ciphers also, because this medium, which we communicate is very harsh. That means error rate is very high. So people prefer to use only Steam cipher. So this was done in GSM CDM also. So here, the first generation, they called as wired equivalent privacy. That means we want to give security similar to what is happening on our normal landline, some things like that. So here, secret key has to be pre-stored in both the mobile and access point. And then, this, there were two versions. One is for 64-bit key they call. In that, user can introduce 10 hexadecimal characters. Similarly, there is one more higher security version, 128-bit key. So where, user has to introduce 26 hexadecimal characters. So both have to be set at the access point as well as this client. And then, there is one methodology, where we actually take this.
Sir, your audio, we are not able to hear you.
Dr. Andamohan sir, your audio is.
Audio, I don't know.
Now
Okay,
it's coming.
okay, now it
Now
is
it's fine, sir. Yes, sir.
okay. No, the slide is not advancing, that's what I am saying. Somehow, 1 minute. This one is mouse problem. Yes. So here, what happens is, suppose there is a message that is plain text. First, we have to compute the cyclic redundancy check, and then they calculate the 32-bit value, and then they will pad it with the message, and this whole thing is encrypted using one cipher. Which I was telling you, the 64-bit key. So they use a cipher known as RC4. That is actually known as reversed cipher, which was introduced by the great RSA expert, reversed. So here what happens is, unfortunately, this V also is sent on the medium. So that means there is something like initial vector of 24 bits that together with this, cipher test. Here ciphering what we are doing is only exclusive OR. Exclusive OR means I will mask my message padded with CRC with the key stream, and that it will go on the medium. So now, the pity here is, suppose, you are in an airport where hundreds of users are, using this Wi-Fi. What happens is, this all are having same key only because with the access point we share the same key. But then only the changing parameter is V. This V 24 bit, every frame, we actually increment. So it happens that yours particular V value and my V value may be same at a particular instant of time. This may happen, in the very frequently also. So that's why what happens is, once this happens, I can capture both the ciphertext, and if I exclusive OR, the keystream effect is removed. So this is what they known as collision attack. So this collision attack was made this particular WEP is very weak, and that's why they have thought of introducing this later version. So the later version is here some problem is there. There is some trouble with this advancing the slide. Right advance also.
Sir, should we present?
Yes, that is also possible because time is important. So I think you can go to next slide. Next slide. Yes, here what happens is there is a challenge, that is this 24-bit challenge will be going from access point to this from the wireless station to access point. So both of them, as I mentioned, with the concatenate IV and key, and that they use as the key for the RC4 algorithm, and then RC4 algorithm will generate the key stream. Then we will exclusive or with the payload, that is CRC and payload, that with that then I send as a medium. So this I already mentioned you what is the weakness of this game. We'll go to the next one, please. So this next one, they already collision attack has already been explained. So next version is next one, please. So here, the next version is actually interim solution, which is known as wireless protected access. So here, what they wanted was they wanted downward compatibility with the old one. So that means the same hardware has to be used. But they have introduced some new features, like instead of using CRC, CRC is a very weak checksum. So instead of that, they have suggested using one other authentication integrity code known as Michael. But this is also very weak. Later people found that. So that's why what happens is this is an experience for you to tell you that ad hoc designs should not be used. That means designs have to be totally studied, vetted by experts, the cryptanalyzed, and then only you should use. So this is another mistake they have done in using this Michael. But here what they have done is instead of that earlier, you have seen there was having some one key only was there, and then it was same key was used. But here what to do, they say different unique key used for each packet. So this one is one of the slight improvements that has been made. And then but even then people have observed that this because this is interim solution, this is also not good when compared to this. Then next version was this WPA 2 has come. WPA 2, next place, right, please. WP here what we do is once by the time AES has come into picture, advanced encryption standard. So what they have done is instead of this weak RC4 algorithm, they have implemented this Wi-Fi protected access with advanced encryption standard. But this, of course, what happens is earlier meaning this thinking was this because these are mobiles are low power devices. So Wi-Fi, also they want to reduce the power consumption. That's why they have used the stream ciphers. But now, this low power design has become very popular. So they thought power consumption is not an issue. So AES CCMP mode has been used. And there were actually, two modes possible. One is known as PSK and another one is enterprise mode. So this enterprise mode, this you need the help of a server, that is radius, remote authentication direct user service. Okay, for that you need the support of that. Then these two modes were there. So this WTO2 is good, but WTO2 is also having one problem. Next one. So here, we use something known as a four-way handshake. So this four-way handshake, can be attacked. So this four-way basic purpose is to negotiate the session keys to be used in the encryption. Next one, please. So here, you can see the first, top you can see there is something known as association stage. Association stage, we only ask for this which SSID that is request, which service provider, who is the other. So something like only basic things are being identified. Real authentication is not done. So after that, actually, this four-way handshake, is, goes in 4 steps. First step, actually what happens is this client will send one not very random number. And then there is something known as this R is known as this replay counter they call. That means when I send a message, I start with 0. Then this when somebody replies, that authenticator replies, he has to reply me with the incremented number. That means 2 like that. So there will be first message as soon as nonce is received by the client, then he will install something known as a pairwise transient key. Okay. Then he sends this another random number. So this then this access point also installs this transient key. Then authenticator acknowledges telling message 3. He increments that value to R plus 1. then you send something as a group transient key. This is required in case you want to have communication with the group. Now, after message 3 is received, client will send something known as message 4. Now, here, actually interesting thing is some researchers in Belgium have shown that this four-way handshake is having a serious problem. What they say is, if message 4 is not received by the authenticator, he keeps on sending message 3. So that means, if some meet in the middle attack can be done. If somebody, can sit in the way and block the message 4 to reach this authenticator, then, you keep on sending message 3. So this has been possible in some devices. Here again, interesting thing is, a lot of people have implemented WPA2, but some of them have not, followed this procedure correctly. So that means, suppose you have not bothered about message 3, if you have already installed this pairwise transient key, you can use it for encryption and communication would have gone safely. So those devices, there is no attack at all. But there are some devices where they have implemented this in that as indicated, like expecting message 4 within certain time. If it doesn't come, keep on doing retransmission. This is what was known as crack attack. Next one, please. So key reinstallation attack. So once you reinstall, what is meaning of that is I will reset all the information. That is the key is there, and I force reuse of old key. But then I can there are some other parameters like replay counter is there. That counter value make it 0. Then what happens is the same key is again generated for ciphering. Because then what happens is, as before we have seen, if two frames come with the same key, then it is possible to break the system. So that is why this crack attack has been found to be a bottleneck for WPA2. And of course, one small consolation is this attacker must be within the physical range of client and network. So that means this. That is that is one. So meet in the middle attack can be done definitely, but this is only thing. And similarly, this attack is not likely to affect communication when if you use other methods, like secure socket layer. Next one.
Sir,
Sir,
sir, can
kindly
we
be brief.
conclude, sir? Can we conclude, sir?
Yes, another the last one I am coming.
Yes.
Next one, please. So because of this next, you can go to this. I will just tell you. So now latest one is something known as WPA3. So WPA3, what they do? They say this preset key is there, but then they use a lot of advanced technologies now, known as dragonfly handshake, to arrive at this actual that is key that is used in the communication. But this needs elliptic curve cryptography used, and then this also uses something known as zero knowledge proofs. If many of you are familiar, many of the blockchain and all now people are trying to use zero knowledge proofs, and it also uses one technique known as simultaneous authentication of equals. So that means but this requires a lot of computation. The advantage is that this that very impossible to break it. But then what happened was even for this people have found some attacks. Last one, next one, please. Known as dragon. Next one you can go. Dragon blood. The same authors who have found these attacks, crack attack. What they have told is this WV3 also is susceptible to attacks. So which one is one of the important things is Professor Shastri has told side channel attacks. So that means because a lot of computations are involved, that computation time, if you record the power consumption, you can try to break the system. And similarly, there is no standardization on what type of elliptic curve has to be used. That is another problem. So some people have used something on a brain pool curve. Some people have gone NIST curves. NIST curves are supposed to be safe. Brain pool curves are not safe. So that means now recently one more IEEE has given one more method of getting this key, which is known as hash to element method. The another major weakness is downgrading to WPA2. Most of the systems, what are happening is business tells you that if new technology doesn't work, you should give the facility for the user to go to the old method. So that is in fact the major weakness. Okay, so this if you downgrade WPA2, all those weaknesses will come into picture. And finally, high computational overhead is there. Now, this I will conclude this with the next one. So that means, the problems they are occurring because numerous implementation by numerous manufacturers and many devices have not been updated to WPA3. That means people still continue to use WPA2 only. Okay, that is because of that unnecessary restriction of downward compatibility. Okay, and in fact, there was one center set up in Hyderabad, CRM Institute, where this crack attacks, setup was there. So some test beds like that should be set up so that we get experience in finding out weaknesses in protocols and all. Then my another feeling is that this when ECC was not considered good for quantum now pre-quantum cryptography because they told this source algorithm can defeat ECC. This Wi-Fi also we should go for post-quantum cryptography. For example, they recently NIST is standardized on some KEMs, key encapsulation module, crystal Skybar. So some such things, we should be able to introduce. So that India will be ready for participating in this open Wi-Fi movement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anand Mohan sir, for giving an excellent overview of various Wi-Fi protocols, starting from WEP to WPA to 3, and also the weaknesses and strengths and what needs to be done. Thank you very much for an excellent talk, sir. We now move to the next speaker, Mr. Mahesh Patil, Associate Director, CDAC Hyderabad, who will be talking on the evaluation and testing of applications, mobile applications. And Mahesh Patil is working in Center for Development of Advanced Computing, Hyderabad. He has spearheaded several national level R&D projects in the area of cyber security, blockchain, embedded systems, mobile and IoT security. And he has delivered 120 plus talks at various R&D academic institutes across the country, including various government organizations like DRDO, BHEL, IITs, and also to name a few. He had several international security certifications, and also he has published several research papers in national and international journals and conferences. As I know, one of the important things he probably missed here is the M Kavach, which is for the Android applications, is available in the Swachhata Kendra. That is, I think, downloaded by more than 15 lakh mobile users to secure their mobile devices. He is a key developer for that M Kavach application. Over to Mahesh Patil, sir, to take us to the evaluation and testing.
Thank you so much, sir. I just wanted to confirm whether my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'll be talking about evaluating the security of mobile apps. What are the typical techniques and tools people use? Just before entering into it, I would also like to give you an overview of the stack. Typically, at the lowest layer, we understand that Android works on the Linux kernel as well. And there is a beautiful ecosystem which is based on this library, which are typically open source in nature. And what Google did is develop their own runtime environment based on a virtual machine, which today is called as the Android runtime, ART, which is like the Dalvik is typically the old version of it. And they exposed a set of application framework, which is typically a Java-based library, about which people can develop applications. And that is the entire stack which would, whenever you analyze any application, would come across various layers of this where you can work at. So one thing we'll have to understand is there are two types of applications. One is, they call it as third-party applications. These are the ones which you typically download from the Google App Store. And then there are something called as stock applications, which are nothing but pre-installed applications onto the phone actually. So it is very important to know that stock applications cannot be uninstalled, which is anyway a question for debate as such, but that is something which we have to understand. In many cases, the stock applications may have slightly more privileges than the third-party applications. Now, when we talk about evaluating any mobile application, there are two perspectives that would come into picture. One is something called as a vulnerability analysis and penetration testing, called as BAPT. It's, the second aspect or the perspective could be in terms of malware or the threat analysis. And I'll just give you an example of how these vary. Suppose I have an application which is developed for my enterprise. Now, my goal would be that I have developed a secure application. I have not left over any vulnerabilities inside it. So I have to evaluate this mobile application from that perspective, just to make sure, for example, that there is no insecure way I have stored data onto my device, or the way I'm communicating to the servers is secure in nature. Also in terms of whether the configurations which are there in terms of security are intact. Now, this purview comes from the angle.
Dr. Mr. Mahesh Patil, I'm sorry. I would request you to kindly welcome
Yeah.
Abhishek Singh. Actually, he's a little busy and he has joined for few moments.
Sure, sir.
So I would request Dr. Sarath Babu to kindly welcome Additional Secretary Mighty and seek his keynote address first, and after that we will continue it.
Mahesh Patil, so please
Sure.
take
Sure.
it up. So, sir, Sri Abhishek Singh, sir, it's an honor for us to have you here. We know we can understand the kind of busy schedules you will have, but in spite of that, you have given us the opportunity to listen to us. Just briefly introduce you, sir. Sri Abhishek Singh, sir, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Is having a career civil servant with 29 years of experience in public policy and implementation, and specializes in the use of technology for improving public services. He currently serves as Additional Secretary in India's Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, with responsibilities of artificial intelligence and emerging technologies, cyber security, and digital skilling. He has also been assigned the responsibility of Chief Executive Officer of Karmayogi Bharat, a government company tasked with building a tech platform for capacity building of all civil servants. He has led the implementation of key Digital India projects like DigiLocker, MyGov, Cowin, Uman, Diksha, that form the core of India's digital public infrastructure. He has done Masters in Public Administration from Harvard Kennedy School of Government. He is also an alumnus of IIT Kanpur. He was recently awarded the UNDP Future of Government Leadership Award. With this brief introduction, sir, we would request you to take over the dais and deliver your valuable address to all of us.
Thank you, Dr. Sharad Babu and Dr. T.V. Ramachandran, Dr. Shastri, Mahesh Patil ji, Dr. Anand Mohan. It was indeed like Mr. Anil Tandon, the Director General of Broadband India Forum, and Alok Gupta, the co-chair of the BIF. It's an honor and privilege for me to be speaking on this forum. I have been listening to this entire session off and on because there was another meeting that was going on, but I was impressed with the kind of insights that Dr. Babu, Dr. Shastri, Dr. Mahesh Patil, all of you brought into the whole subject with regard to ensuring cybersecurity considerations in mobile and Wi-Fi, and how do we ensure that we keep ourselves more secure. Because we all know that the pace at which technology is evolving, the pace at which we all are like doing online transactions of all kinds, the pace at which departments, organizations, companies have adopted technology, we also need to ensure that how do we keep ourselves safe, secure, and ensure that data and information security is fully ensured. Part of it is done through systems and part of it is done through audits, but more of it is being done by being aware with regard to what are the risks that lie there. So Government of India has been taking a lot of steps in this direction, and especially in India, when we are adopting digital technology so much, there is a greater need for us to take sufficient number of measures to ensure cyber security. And why mobile security is more important? Because even though we have like more than 900 million people in India that are connected to the internet, but we all know that more people connect to the internet through a mobile phone, and they use mobile phones for not only watching YouTube videos, but people are using mobile phones for almost everything, whether it's for doing online transactions, doing UPI payments, or accessing internet for various kinds of services. So when mobile phones have become an integral part of our daily lives, ensuring their security becomes very, very important. Our reliance on these devices for e-commerce, for communications, for shopping, for accessing government services uh, results in a scenario in which that don't have a choice but to take measures to protect them from cyber threats. I would like to first get into some of the measures that the government of India has taken to to tackle cyber security and to ensure in what ways we can build in mobile device security. So, like for example, when we talk of cyber security, it's not that only an individual needs to be secure uh, in the cyber world. It has become an. Can we mute those who are not? So it's become like a national priority. So what the government of India does is that it recognizes the critical need to protect our national digital infrastructure from threats that range from cyber espionage and data breaches to ransomware attacks and cyber terrorism. Our approach is multifaceted. It encompasses policy formulation, capacity building, international collaboration, institutional development, and cutting edge research. We have taken a comprehensive journey today in the last few years to fortify our cyber defenses through strategic research and development initiatives. One of the key milestones that India took is the National Cybersecurity Policy that was released by MeitY way back in 2013. And this policy provides a strategic framework for securing our cyberspace. It emphasizes the development of indigenous cybersecurity technologies, which can help foster a culture for cybersecurity awareness and create a framework to combat cybercrime. The policy underscores the importance of R&D as a means to stay ahead of evolving threats. The key nodal agency for ensuring cybersecurity in India is, of course, Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, the CERT, as is known, the CERTIN, as we call it. It plays a major role in ensuring the cybersecurity ecosystem in the country. They played a major role especially during the G20 events that we held last year in securing, and because we were subject to numerous attacks from world over during the G20, even during the elections this year, the Election Commission of India's website and our systems are subject to a lot of attacks. So CERTIN's mandate, as you all know, includes enhancing the security of our communication information infrastructure through proactive action and effective collaboration. It acts as a nodal agency for coordination of all cybersecurity efforts, ensuring timely alerts and advisories on cyber threats. It has the NCCC, which has been set up in the National Cybercrime Center, which serves as a control room, as the hub for looking at all the internet traffic that's happening. It works very closely with the institution like TSOC, which manages the data that's coming in through internet gateways of the Department of Telecom, and to identify patterns, and if there is any kind of attack that is that's happening on systems, or of any targeted attack for telecom systems or power systems, for transportation systems, because all these critical infrastructure becomes very, very important to keep it secure. And we all know that for the critical information infrastructure, the government has also set up an institution called the NCIIPC, the National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, which focuses on protecting critical information infrastructure, which is vital for national security, economic growth, and public health. And the work that NCIIPC has done, especially in the power sector and the transportation sector, has been of immense value in ensuring that critical infrastructure remains fully secure. Apart from the role that CERTIN and NCIIPC play, another very important initiative that MeitY has taken is the Information Security Education and Awareness Project, the ICR project that we call it. This project aims to build skilled human resources which are capable of addressing complex cybersecurity challenges. And it works with academic institutions, it works with various partners, various stakeholders, research organizations through grants and collaborations, which ultimately also result in a lot of innovation in the cybersecurity technologies. The ICR project is like kind of our torchbearer for ensuring participation of the research community in ensuring a safe cyber secure system that we have. International cooperation also becomes very, very important in our India cybersecurity strategy. We are part of the various global cybersecurity forums, and we collaborate with other nations to share intelligence, best practices, and technological advancements. These collaborations enhance our capability to respond to global cyber threats effectively, because today most of the cybersecurity challenges are not confined to one geography. Of course, we have our friendly neighborhood, which keeps on targeting us with various kinds of attacks. But on that front also, we work very closely with our global cybersecurity colleagues and friends and counterparts in getting and sharing information and evolving a common strategy for tackling this. Our elections was again another occasion when we were subject to a lot of threats, a lot of attacks for all kinds of by all kinds of state actors and non-state actors. And in that front, working with the international community becomes a very, very important step. One key step, of course, is the National Cybersecurity Strategy that was built in which the National Cybersecurity Coordinator works very closely with CERTIN and the NCIIPC for working out a common strategy. And the National Cybersecurity Strategy outlines the roadmap that we have for securing our cyberspace through a coordinated approach that includes not only strengthening a regulatory framework, but also building public-private partnerships and enhancing the capabilities of our law enforcement agencies. Then we also have been working very closely with NASSCOM and its body, especially the Data Security Council of India, for launching cybersecurity grand challenges to provide impetus towards product innovation in the cybersecurity startup ecosystem. And the grand challenges that we did gave us several products for building a safe and secure cyberspace. And this initiative helped us to nurture startups and diversify the industry and boost the development of niche and advanced solutions which are aligned to the national objective for a vibrant cybersecurity ecosystem that will help us in safeguarding our digital assets and position India as a global leader in cybersecurity technology. What we have also seen is that with the increase in digital payment transactions, we have been growing very fast in India. We all know UPI has been a game changer, and it has been growing in the last 5 years at 49% annual growth rate. So, and most people are doing digital payment transactions with mobile phones. So mobile security becomes very, very critical, very important for the government. And for mobile security, Government of India has taken up several initiatives. One initiative that I like to mention is the creation of the Cyber Swachhta Kendra, the botnet cleaning and the malware analysis center. This important initiative aims at detecting and cleaning malware from mobile devices. It provides tools and resources for users to scan and secure their devices. And this helps in preventing the spread of malware and other cybersecurity threats. One can go to the MeitY portal and get hold of these free tools which are available, which can help not only checking your phones, but keeping the mobile phones free and secure. Then we also like for ensuring that mobile phones are safe and secure. The CDAC Hyderabad has built a tool that's called mKavach, and mKavach helps in again ensuring that the mobile phones are kept secure. And in this year only, January, MeitY released a draft roadmap for public consultation for 5 sectors in mobile security, in IoT security, cyber forensics, quantum technologies, and cryptography, which kind of helps us in building a secure mobile internet experience for citizens as we go forward. And then the other objective that has been the government is working on is for ensuring mobile security is building an app called Umang. Umang is a unified mobile interface for new age governance. And what the Umang app does is that it brings together more than 2,000 public services on one mobile platform. So people don't need to go to download multiple apps, and instead you can just download one app and you get access to all the services. Because what happens is that very often many fraud players upload apps on the Play Store and the App Store, which have a look and feel of the government app, but they are fraud apps that can result in loss of data, information, and money. So Umang is one initiative which helps in addressing this challenge. And in order to kind of make people aware with regard to risks that are there in the cyberspace, how one should keep oneself safe, secure when doing financial transactions, when doing online transactions, another initiative with MHA has launched is the I4C. I4C initiative seeks to like educate citizens with regard to cybercrime frauds and also take actions when a cybercrime happens of any kind. So they have set up the cybercrime.gov.in and the 1930 call number on which any such cybercrimes can be reported. And what has happened in the last few months is that they have really kind of gone ahead and busted several such scamsters who were fooling people and doing that. Their Cyber Dost initiative, launched by I4C, is also again another. And Cyber Dost is a handle that's there on social media, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitter. So that Cyber Dost initiative also gives in a lot of insights for citizens to keep themselves secure on cyberspace. So, like, I'm sure the initiative the government of India is taking and the initiative that we are working closely with organizations like BIF, the experts who give their insights as part of our various groups, brainstorming sessions, as also trying to give inputs on various policies that government of India takes. This and especially initiatives like this digital dialogues, which BIF has convened. These will go a long way in evolving the whole of India approach towards having a proactive stance on cybersecurity and ensuring that we are together able to safeguard our digital frontier. And as we navigate the complexities of digital age, continuous innovation and collaboration will be our greatest allies. Together, we can build a resilient and secure cyberspace that empowers the citizens and fuels our national growth. So I would like to once again conclude by congratulating all the eminent speakers and thanking BIF for organizing this Digital India Dialogues. And I'm sure the insights that have been presented by the experts today will help us in working towards evolving a more proactive approach towards building a safe, secure digital space and ensuring mobile security in particular. So thank you once again for having me here.
Thank you very much, sir, for excellent, the inputs that you have given. What Government of India is doing in safeguarding our nation, especially in the context of the mobile securing the mobile and keeping the importance of the growth of the mobile into various applications, right from finance to health to education and all aspects. And you also gave us a lot of inputs on various efforts that are being put up by the government of India, especially the MeitY, and very laudable efforts, sir. And we are in safe hands of government of India, taking care of the thing as a high priority. We look forward to continue to work closely with you from the Broadband India Forum and other agencies. Thank you very much, sir, for your time and valuable inputs.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ramachandran,
Would
sir,
you like to say?
Sir, you are on mute. TV, sir. TV, sir, you are on.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Sir, thank you very much for joining. And
you are on mute, sir. TV, sir, you are on mute.
No, we can hear him.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining. I know you've got very many pressing things in hand, and you took the time out to be with us and motivate us with this very stirring speech, which recounted all the great initiatives by the Government of India. So we wish to assure you, sir, that from Broadband India Forum, we're all committed to work closely with you and support and help in whatever small way we can. We are completely dedicated to the cause of cybersecurity and broadband for India. Thank you, sir. I presume Mr. Alok Gupta, our co-chairman, will now come on to thank you, sir.
Sir, Mr. Mahesh Patil has to continue his
presentation. Do you have, how much time do you have, sir?
I will have a meeting to join at 5 o'clock, but Mahesh Patil can continue.
Mr. Mahesh Patil was...
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry to have interrupted his session.
Not any.
Sir, I just wanted to say, sir, he is the builder of M-Kavach and Cyber Swachhata Kendra from CDAC.
I know, I have heard a lot about him, so that's why I was very sorry. I thought he was nearing the end of his presentation. We should not have stopped it, but yes, Mahesh.
No,
Thank you, sir. You gave a very good overview, sir. I think a few of the things actually I also got an insight on what are the other things the governments are doing actually. Thanks for
The
that.
government tries to do a lot of things with the help and support of everyone, but the problem in cybersecurity is that the hackers and the criminals are always try to stay one step ahead of us.
Right.
So we have to also catch up, and we have to also interact with experts and learn from the real researchers with regard to what more we need to do.
Right. You're right.
We have to collectively work. That's much important.
So I was talking about there are two perspectives of actually evaluating the mobile apps. One is the vulnerability analysis and penetration testing, and the second is from the malware and threat analysis perspective. And as I mentioned, like here, typically a developer or a person who is releasing his app wants to make sure that his app is secure enough and the adversaries cannot actually take over his app, uh, or even the personal information about the users of the app is not compromised as such. And then there is a second perspective wherein someone comes out and tells that there is a malware. And now to protect ourselves from the way this malware is behaving, we also have to do some profiling in terms of its behavior. And then that way we can also understand what kind of threat that malware is bringing onto board. So typically here we would look like what kind of critical resources it is accessing on the phone. For example, how often it is accessing the microphone or the location information and things like that. Or is it stealing any photographs or my contact details, or is it scanning my SMS messages and doing some malicious activity? Another important aspect here would also be like where this data which it is collecting is being sent over the internet. So that we can at least have some firewall rules put in wherein no communication goes from the enterprise and things like that, or even at a country level have blocked those IP addresses and things like that. So considering that these two aspects are there for evaluating the application, there are some very common techniques people use. And these are those three techniques. One is called as a static analysis, the second dynamic analysis, and the third is called as the instrumentation mechanisms. So I will touch upon each of them. So if you see OAS, which is a very popular body where which releases the top 10 web as well as mobile vulnerabilities as such, they have released these top 10 vulnerabilities. To give you an idea about what, I'll not go into all of them, but let's take one example of it. The ninth one over here, which is talking about reverse engineering. Yes. So what it says is there are apps which people release which are very easy to reverse engineer. And that becomes one entry point for the adversary to understand what this app is doing and then attack it. And to even look at the top 5 failures, you see that the unprotected Android apps is almost 62% among some survey which was done for a few apps as such. So I would just touch upon what exactly they mean by this, and I'll show you also that how easy it is. But typically when you, in Android world, there is a programming language like Java and Kotlin, which is very popularly used, wherein they compile it and they generate an intermediate DEX file. DEX is nothing but, as I told you, Google has its own virtual machine. So on that virtual machine, this bytecode called as DEX would run it. And they have an extension of the application called as .apk file. Now, if I have to reverse engineer this, I would start at the bottom over here. If you see, I would take the APK file and then try to generate the Java file, right? So I'll just show you how simple it would be actually. Here is an application. If you see iCalendar.apk, in fact, it is just with an extension APK, but it's nothing more than a zip file. So what I can do is I can just rename it as a zip file and extract this file. And once I extract this file, you see that I have got a folder, and inside that folder, I have two files. The text file, which I was talking about, is the Dalvik bytecode, and a permission file called as Android manifest file, which has the permissions for it. So you see that it was so easy for us to just reverse engineer a APK file, right? we go one step further, wherein after we have this text file now, so you see here that we have this text file. Can we get the Java file out of it? And that is also easily possible by using one of the tools. This is APK Studio. I just wanted to show you that this is on the left-hand side is the complete source code of that APK file. After decompiling, I have taken one of the files. This is iCalendar.java, and you'll see that I'm able to see the plain Java source code actually. So here is a simple code snippet in this malware, which is sending an SMS to a specific number of this, right, 103, and with the content of 921x1 actually. Now, what I wanted to emphasize over here is when we do static analysis, you typically do not execute this APK file. It is just that you have the file on your desktop, you open it, reverse engineer it, and then try to find more details about it. And that's what we did. But is it true that it is so easy? So typically it's not that easy. What people do is they make this APK undergo a transformation, which is not really encryption, but nowadays people are also using encryption, but it will take this APK file and then convert it into an obfuscated APK file. Now with the obfuscated APK file, after you reverse engineer the Java code, which was looking something very nicely formatted, as well as in terms of its variable names and things like that, would get converted into something cryptic like this. So with this, it becomes very difficult for the reverse engineer to make a sense out of this like source code. So hence what would typically happen is it becomes difficult to do static analysis. Now we are at the end wherein now we can't do static analysis because of this obfuscation. So then people move to something called as dynamic analysis. So in dynamic analysis, what they do is they will install this file, APK file or the mobile file onto a virtual machine or onto a physical device, but not, it's a R&D, like a developer device actually, not the real device where once they invoke, install it, then they will try to install agents which will try to get information about it. And in the dynamic analysis, you are actually running that malware or the file onto a runtime environment and then collecting information, which is more realistic in nature. And now, even if this file, which is APK file, which is obfuscated, it would still keep its behavior intact actually. So we have now solved the problem that even if someone gives us an APK file which is obfuscated, we can still do analysis on it by running it onto a virtual machine or emulator as such. And typically in a dynamic analysis, people would also try to do what is typically called as the traffic analysis actually. To understand that, how they do it is they would typically have softwares like the proxy softwares which would actually intercept the communication between the mobile app and the server. With this, they would be able to get more insight about how the application is behaving, what kind of data it is sending, and things like that. Now, there are techniques wherein we can protect this aspects of it, and then it becomes very difficult to do the analysis, but there are other techniques to do. But essentially, what I wanted to highlight here is on an obfuscated binary, now you can still do the analysis using dynamic analysis by running it. But this is still not sufficient. The reason is when you run the application, you may have to look at or change its behavior while running so that you can get control over it. I'll just give you a small example. Suppose I have an application which has a login functionality. Now, unless I log in, I cannot go ahead. So is there a mechanism wherein I can by default inject a code inside the binary saying that the login is successful and then it allows me to proceed further? How can I achieve this? Is by using some technique called as instrumentation. Now, what they do is on the mobile device, they install a server component, and this server component would actually get into the address space of the application. So it means that this server component has a capability to access the memory address of that application. And with that, what it will do is the developer machine can write a small piece of code, and this code will get injected inside the application, and it can change the behavior, it can change the variables, it can find out what arguments are passed to the functions, what are the return types of function, all that kind of deep analysis it can do. So here's some small examples of what it can do. It can intercept call. So if I want to see that, can you tell the application that, okay, any interception, any calls that are made to a HTTP server, please give me the request and response related to it. So I can intercept such calls. I can also find out that if an encryption function is there, what is the key value that is being passed to it, so that I can directly know what is the key that is used by the application. So I can know the arguments to the encryption function. So these kind of functionalities we can achieve by using the instrumentation part of it. And you might feel that this is very like complex in nature, but to be frank, it's not. And I'll just show you some three screenshots, which would actually give you an insight about it, how easy it is to do this. One is like, here's a small example of it. So the application, while it is running, we are telling that any memory allocations that are there. Now, this is a low-level C function, and you see that it is able to even track that level of functionality. It can actually find out that what level of memory is being allocated by the right. But this may not be that useful. So let's go to something more useful for us. Here, take an example that this is a module which is capable of intercepting what is the text message that can be sent actually. So you see that it is intercepting the SMS manager, and it is capable of itself sending an SMS also actually, right? So this all happens in the runtime of the application, and the application would not be aware of that such interception is happening as such. And I will leave one snapshot to just for you to think over what it might be doing. If you can guess, it would be interesting that you are hooking into a function, okay, which is nothing but a HTTP client, and you see that it is intercepting the request that the application is doing, and also intercepting the response. So it means that if this is your application and this is your server, what you are typically trying to do is, while the application makes a request, it will fill up the request content, and that would be intercepted by our runtime environment, actually, this instrumentation library. And it will further send it to the server. And while it is coming back, you get a response, and that response also you are able to see it. And in fact, if you want, you can manipulate this return type response so that what the application gets a response would be a different thing as such from the server. So you can now understand how powerful this particular instrumentation technique is, because it's capable of intercepting what is the data that is going in and out of the application. It is able to hook the functions that are being executed. It is able to change the state of the variables that are there in the. So with this, we can actually build upon this to develop very complex and sophisticated applications for security analysis assessment. I've just mentioned few of the tools that are there as part of the mobile application analysis. I mean, many of these are available in open source, and you can easily download and use them. But I'll just touch upon one last thing, see how the trend is going towards analysis. Now, AI becoming a very common thing in every system. What they typically do is they will take benign and malware samples of APK files, and they'll extract a lot of features from it. It could be the permissions, it could be the APIs that it is using, it could be the kind of security mechanisms it is using, and things like that. And that would be actually given to these features would be converted into a data set, which would be then given to a maybe a ML model or deep model, so that it can classify within benign and. So given a new APK, it would be able to detect So this is another set of analysis techniques people are using. I just take 2 minutes to even talk about some solutions which we have developed. In order to do malware analysis, we have a platform called as Vishleshak, which after you install, it's a physical phone. It is rooted and it is installed with a lot of tools inside it, analysis tools. You just install the app and just use it normally like a normal user. At the background, it will collect all the details and give you a complete comprehensive report in terms of what resources were accessed at what time, in what sequence, and where the data was sent to which servers and things were there. And if you are developers of applications as such, we have a VAPT tool called as Parikshan, which does static and dynamic analysis in a much easier way. It actually looks at the OS top 10 mobile vulnerabilities and gives you a feeling in terms of how secure your app is as such, so that before releasing or before going for a third-party security audit, you can fix most of the bugs by yourself. And as Abhishek sir and Sarat sir as mentioned, we also have this mKavach. This is available freely on the Google App Store as such. We request you to please download it and then also proliferate it in your circle. We don't collect any telemetry data and we take as minimalistic permissions as possible as compared to any other security solution as such. So with that, if you have anything you are interested for us to work in, you can connect to us at this email ID, and we'll be happy to collaborate with you and work together. And I really thank all the members over here from Broadband India Forum, including Sarat sir, TV Raman sir, and it was also very nice to meet actually Anand Mohan sir and even Shastri sir.
Yeah.
Alok sir also.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very interesting.
Thank you, Mahesh, for giving a nice talk on evaluating the security of mobile apps. What are the techniques and tools, including the reverse engineering approach, and also with a kind of a demonstration nicely depicted. Thank you very much for your time and giving, and hopefully we participants would interact with you over the mail as well for other inputs. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I take this opportunity to thank all the speakers, Dr. Anand Mohan sir, Dr. V.N. Sastry sir, Mahesh Patil sir, and Sri Abhishek Singh sir, who has delivered the keynote address as a chief guest, for their valuable presence and time. And I also thank from my side TV sir for his valuable time and also giving an introductory very valuable remarks. And we now go for a formal vote of thanks from my friend Sri Alok Gupta, co-chair of the Broadband India Forum's Cybersecurity Committee. You is the founder of Pyramid Cybersecurity and Forensics. I would briefly introduce sir before he formally give the vote of thanks. Sri Alok Gupta is the founder and CEO of Pyramid Cybersecurity and Forensic and co-chair of BAF Cybersecurity Committee. He has 34 years of experience in the information and communications technology industry. He is member of the Board of Governors, Birla Institute of Management, and faculty with ICAI for FAFD program. He is also member of the Incubator Investment Advisory Committee of Atal Incubation Center. Mr. Gupta writes columns. He is frequently quoted in IT, security, and forensic media, and regularly speaks at several events, workshops, seminars, and forums in India and internationally. Thank you, Alok sir, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sarat. First and foremost, I would like to thank Shri Abhishek Singh ji, Additional Secretary Meti, who took out time to be with us today for this very comprehensive and wonderful and enriching dialogue we had on cybersecurity in mobile and Wi-Fi. In fact, he called it as a national priority, and I really liked his multifaceted approach of policy, capacity building, international collaboration, and research initiatives. His talk was very enriching, and it talked about how the government is taking various steps with various agencies to ensure that we are proactively secured. And the proactive approach is the one which is the need of the hour, because what happens post event is forensics, and that's not something which we need to get into. So proactiveness, awareness, and the initiatives with I4C, Certain, and NCIPC is taking is really commendable. I will like to go in the order of what the speakers said. So first of all, I would like to thank TV sir for his opening remarks, where he has initiatives been in the cybersecurity area, and he emphasized on the security by design, the CIA triad, and the complexities of how the threats are increasing. Thank you, TV sir, for your leadership and guidance in the BIF for the Cybersecurity Committee. I would like to then thank Dr. Sarath Babu, who had been instrumental in leading this, cybersecurity committee as a chair, and he talked about this very important concept of mobile first country because of the sheer number of mobile phones we have, and he also emphasized on the social engineering attacks which we are facing day in and day out, and the need for compliance. I would then like to go to thank Professor V.N. Shastri, who had been, instrumental in helping the banking and finance, industry primarily on areas of how to, control measures need to be implemented, and he actually talked about the case studies of how mobile payment is done, and really beautifully he explained, how the payer and payees are, secured when they are connected. And his recommendations were very, very useful. He, in fact, talked about, more than, he talked about the 11 security goals. So 8 more than the CIA triad. And I really liked his, talk on the mobile ecosystem roles and responsibilities. With that, I would move to thank Dr. P.V. Anand Mohan, who is a technologist by heart, and his presentation was talking about WEP and evolution of WPA2, WPA3, and he also talked about the impact of how post-quantum computing, crystals, kyber kind of things can be implemented. And last but not the least, Mahesh Patil, talking about the the techniques, and you actually took us through some of the demonstrations of how these techniques can be simply used, and the tools which you comprehensively talked about, and your initiatives on M-Kavach 2 and Vishleshak and Parikshan kind of initiatives which you have taken. Thank you very much for being a very, very important speaker in this dialogue. Last but not the least, I would like to thank Brigadier Anil Tandon, who is the Director General of BIF, and also I would like to thank Atul Jain, who is the convener, and the entire BIF Directorate for actually making this dialogue happen. And I think we had more than 40 plus participants who are very keenly listening to all these eminent speakers, and I would like to thank the audience for being patient and being with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for that wonderful day and also excellently conducting this event. Very knowledgeable with practical demonstrations within the short time. It's really appreciable.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's really a great honor to have all of you here. And I want to thank from my side Atul Jain ji and Nima for their, they have done everything to make it happen. So, like really, and of course, under the guidance of TV sir and Brigadier Anil Tandon sir, there is no support. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks all of you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
So good. Nice. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.